on to the next topic, which is connected TV driving the next phase of advertising growth on OTT? And to get all the answers, well, we have our panelists for the day. Before that, I'll speak a few words on that. The growing adoption of smart TVs has made connected TV an important vehicle for advertisers in India. Experts assert that CTV has many advantages as it comes to advertising. So we have our speakers for this. First of all, I would like to take the honor to invite Ms. Sonam Pradhan, Head Integrated Media and Agency Relations, Mahindra and Mahindra. Please welcome Sonam. Please give her a huge round of applause to the gorgeous woman out there on the dais. We have Ibrahim Alapatt, President and Group Head, Marketing, Service Quality, Value-Added Services and Innovation, Thomas Cook India Limited. Please welcome, sir. We have Mr. Krishnarao Buddha, Senior Category Head, Parle Products Private Limited. May I have the honor to invite you on stage as well. Would like to take immense pleasure to invite Mr. Avtej Sawhney, Head of Marketing, Sugar Cosmetics. Please welcome. We have Mr. Jaikishin Chhaproo, Head Media and Brand PR, ITC Limited. Please welcome Mr. Jaikishin. And this session will be moderated by none other than Mr. Vishal Shah, Managing Partner, EssenceMediacom, India. Please welcome Mr. Vishal.
Thank you very much. Thank you everyone. We won't hold you back from the interesting lunch session. We'll jump straight into the panel. And thank you everyone on the esteemed panel speakers. We had some interesting conversations at the backside before coming up here. And trust me, we have some interesting insights. And I will be asking the speakers some tough questions which could be opportunities for many people here in the room. So without any delay, we are seeing a huge growth for CTV, and the adoption for CTV has been on a consistent rise. And we would now like to kind of take views from the different esteemed panelists to understand how they think about connected TV and OTT and what role it is playing in driving marketing, advertising, and communications for the different brands that we're all working with and different categories. I'd like to start with asking Sonam on her views on how you are leveraging the growth of CTV and how is it working, not working, for your brands.
Thank you so much, Vishal. I think for us, CTV is one of the most critical platforms that we need to be seen, we need to be present on. I think I don't need to stress the emphasis on it, but when it comes to metros, when it comes to the premium audience that a brand like Mahindra needs to target, if you're not present on CTV, and I'll be very honest about it, if I'm not present on CTV, I miss the audience that's sitting in my house. So how do I not miss the audience that even sitting in my house? And that's exactly the kind of sample size that I would want to put for everybody who is a Mahindra audience. So ranging from the different brands that we have, from the most premium vehicle to the commercial vehicles, CTV becomes an integral part of my media campaigns.
We can pass the mic and take Sir's view on, Abraham's view on what does he think on how you are leveraging CTV.
I think today, given that in our category, we are typically targeting the SEC AS upmarket audience because the ticket size for our holidays. CTV is a very, very important part of our media plan. Given the data that's already available, and we can discuss the data accuracy later, but I think right now the data that's available suggests that about 88-89% of urban households typically use a CTV or have access to CTV. And 60 million people watched YouTube on a CTV. And typically that's really the slice of audience that we want to target. So from our point of view, it's a very important part of the media plan. But today, I think the opportunity, if I were to step ahead, is for it to become a core of the media plan rather than an incidental to digital and OTT at a larger level. I think that segment's going to grow with the adoption of CTV over linear, and I think that value will increase year on year.
Krishnarao, what are your views on CTV?
Yeah, so we at Parle so believe in being there wherever our audiences are, our prospects are. Uh, so though we acknowledge that CTV is being adopted quite quickly and very fast, particularly post COVID and with events like introduction of 4G and now 5G. Uh, but still, we feel that it's still early days for Parle to board CTV. Um, considering the nature of our product portfolio, which is extremely mass in nature, and though we have Parle Platina, which is the premium offering, so as of now, we really feel that it is getting sort of sufficed with the help of HD or even television. Because I'm saying even if you are talking about a premium biscuit, so it is at best maximum 100 rupees price point, which is easily affordable in that sense. So yes, we do acknowledge that, and we are looking forward to certain concrete numbers before we sort of start boarding CTV.
So have you tested or tried any campaigns on CTV actively as yet?
Not really.
For Parle?
Not
So,
really.
very interesting views here. We have Sonam and Ibrahim, both who've actively tried and tested advertising on CTV. Whereas you have a different view where obviously we are optimistic about it, but the numbers don't hold enough. So is it fair to say that the premium audiences where the price points are, the entry-level price points are higher, it is imperative for them to definitely not miss out on CTV?
I think absolutely yes. Like Sonam and Abraham mentioned, because their product portfolio is absolutely different, and their audiences are where like she said, CTV household is extremely critical. Even if she is able to garner a share or a conversion from a fraction of that audience, actually her job is done.
Right, interesting. Avtej, what are your views on this?
So, I mean, I will tell my views, but just to kind of add on to this question of yours, I think while he's right, I mean, if you're selling a 10 rupee biscuit versus you're selling a 500 rupee cosmetic product like us at Sugar Cosmetics, while of course you're reaching the right kind of audience, but I think the question also is at what cost, right? So I think measurement and pricing are two things which we definitely need to kind of discuss as we go along. But coming to connected TV, I think it's a trend that's here to stay. We've got 28 million households with CTV, it's expected to go up to 40, 50 million in the next 4 to 5 years. Even amongst that, there is a cohort of 1.3 million cord cutters today. Maybe small, but that's expected to go up to 20 million. That's almost 50% of CTV households are expected to be cord cutters in the next 4 to 5 years. Of course, we'll see if it really pans out that way. I think it obviously changes the way we are able to kind of deploy our media monies. It gives us access again in a world where now there are 4 or 5 screens in a household. You've suddenly got CTV, which again allows you to go back and put your ads on the big screen. And I also feel that the size of screen also has a very big role to play in terms of the retention and consideration that it actually drives for brands. So the way we do our planning in terms of conversions also kind of changes with CTV. But yes, at what cost, right? So for us as a startup, it's imperative that we derive maximum bang for the buck, right? So while it's important that you are reaching a certain premium audience, and for a brand like us where 40 to 50% business comes from the top 8, 10 cities, I think CTV becomes a great tool to kind of target the right kind of audience. But like I said, measurement and pricing are two black holes right now which need to be kind of tackled before we can really go full throttle. So at Sugar Cosmetics, have we really, yes, we're dabbling with it, but I think we haven't really just dived into it yet.
Thank you so much, Avtej. Interesting views. Jaikishin, what are your views on CTV?
See, I think most of the colleagues have talked about some point or the other, and so just pick up the two, three critical ones. So one is in NCC's A and B. connected TV reaches around 8 to 10% of the audiences which are cord cutters, and therefore they are not reachable through your linear TV. So therefore, if you have any product which is catering to NCCs A and B, you have a cream of audience, 8 to 10% of that number, which can be reached only through connected TV. The second thing is looking at the affinities of your category with that particular channel or the content genre, you're able to kind of have a much better connect with connected TV overall. So that's a primary thing. And again, I think you checked with some of them in terms of, have you tried it? Yes, we have tried it. In fact, we tried it during the Women's Premier League and IPL as well.
Okay. And any specific experiences that you would like to share in terms of effectiveness or outcomes? What are your thoughts on that?
See, as an advertiser, one of the key things is I want to have a ROI for whatever I do. I want to kind of be sure that whatever investments are going in is reaching out in terms of connecting with my audiences. Today, if you want to dig into any kind of data for connected TV, there will be only handful of inputs and numbers that you will get. Okay, so the numbers again, even from the base connectivity numbers, is it 20 to 25 million? Is it 14 to 15 million? Because different reports actually talk about different bases to start with. Even during IPL, Jio actually talked about reaching out to 3 to 4 million at a conservative number to reach out to audiences on connected TV. That's part A. Part B is even if numbers are there, there's no measurement that is currently coming in, and therefore ROI calculation becomes a challenge. The third issue that comes in with connected TV is when you're unbundling content. So linear TV, HD, connected TV are three mutually exclusive sets in a way. Earlier, if I was spending rupees 100 to reach a certain audience base of, let's say, 1,000 people, today if that unbundling is happening of 8 to 10% with connected TV, 14 to 15% with HD, and the rest of it, somewhere, that unbundling is leading to increase in cost per connect. And that's something that we need to kind of think through when we are trying to get into measurements of stuff. Because while I might be happy to pay a premium for the elite audiences, I just need some kind of rationalization happening on the cost for the mass audiences.
So interestingly, you mentioned, this point on unbundling, right? And connected TV is now becoming a separate line item in the way it is sold. Wanted to open up this question to all of you all on this IPL. It was the first time where Jio started selling connected TV, in the similar way that the regular linear TV sold. They were selling it at rate per 10 seconds, right? Do you think that is a game-changing move? Is that going to stir up the market? Is that going to, change the way you all are investing on media and on connected TV?
So Vishal, I think I'll take that question. And let me correct you. The first time was not during IPL, it was actually during FIFA.
Yes,
That
okay,
the
yes, that's correct.
entire shift was done. The way of selling on connected TV was very similar to how it would be sold on a linear TV. And let me be proud in saying that we were the presenting sponsors on FIFA as Mahindra on digital as well as on television. And for me to explain it to internal audience that, you have 2 spots on television and you've got 2 spots on CTV. Trust me, for me, that was absolutely simple to explain. That was something that everybody understood. Currently, all of us sitting out here are media people and we understand the language of CPM and CPCVs and things like that. But are we able to explain someone how simple it is that you have 2 spots that you will see today on TV and the same 2 spots you would be able to see on CTV as well? Because it's really difficult to explain technical jargons, but if you're able to explain it simply to a 5-year-old, I think that is the most best thing that you can have. And yes, answering your question, for me that was a tremendous help when I had to internally also pitch the entire proposal of being present on FIFA property, that you would be able to see the same spots that you see on CTV.
Interesting view there. So, do any of you all face, similar challenges or concerns? Do you all think that digital advertising is getting too complicated to sell internally? like Sonam mentioned, right? All of us being in the media industry and fraternity, we understand the CPMs and the CPCs and the various jargons associated with it, or the various, measurement techniques associated with it. But is that a different challenge that many of you all are faced, when having internal boardroom discussions?
So, two things. I'll just take a minute to step back to the earlier question, because a couple of points I wanted to make about the pros and cons of connected TV in the opening point. One is for our category and possibly for hers as well. The scale of having a big screen to sort of communicate the beauty of, let's say, travel or something like the Tar, right, is far more dramatic and far more effective. So it's not just about reaching the right audience, but it's also being able to deliver the message in a more sensible way. Also, a category like holidays is really about co-viewing, because unlike a lot of digital content which is consumed on the mobile, which is typically individual consumption, co-viewing is a very important aspect from a behavioral point of view when it comes to holiday decision making. So my sense and enough data suggests that if a family is watching a holiday offer or a communication, they're more likely to take a decision and then reach out rather than somebody within that family individually looking at this communication. So from that aspect, connected TV is a very powerful device. One of the problems I find, and I'll come to the point on complication later, is the response rate. Because connected TV, while in theory you can click to connect and or even fill an inquiry form, the response rates are very low on connected TV for whatever reason. Not obviously as high as a mobile viewer would. So I think that's something that maybe is partly our fault, because we're not developing creatives that lend themselves to a sort of call to action for connected TV specifically. And I think maybe the opportunity for agencies in the room and content creators is to really think about how we can sort of customize the call to action to increase response rates, because that's one thing that will convince a lot of tough marketers like us who ask this question about ROI, because that's going to be a hardcore measure. To the point on complication, yes, I think with each sort of cut or unbundling, to use the term that we're using, what's happening is that the 100 rupee budget is actually now there are more sort of avenues to utilize. And that's where the presence of good data, accurate data and consistent data will come into play for marketers like us, for us to decide what's that split and what's the proportion of that 100 rupee budget that I have to be able to allocate in a sensible way based on both reach and ROI.
Interesting. Avtej, I had a question for you. You mentioned about conversions, right?
Yeah.
When you're looking at investing on CTV, do you look at it more from a top funnel perspective or a bottom funnel perspective, or is it a mix?
Definitely top funnel. See, like even he mentioned, right? So currently there are multiple things. One, you can't, if I'm doing a pure digital plan and serving an ad on YouTube, I can have a very clear call to action, right? On CTV, you don't have that liberty. So that's one. Which means currently the way we view it is pretty much to drive incrementality in reach, and hence it's a TV plus plan. Also, the other problem is that you can't really while you can target, but the problem is my sister may be logged in from her account on Hotstar and everybody in the family is using it. So actually a female's logged in, but the entire family is doing it, right? So hence demo targeting doesn't really make sense.
Which actually lends to the point which Abraham was just making, right? There's a lot of co-viewership that could be happening. And that could be something to kind of be cognizant about when you're targeting on connected TV.
Exactly. And I think hence, net to answer your question, I think it's, as of now, it's definitely top of funnel. So there is no way to, at least as of now, and maybe it's an opportunity to kind of see how do we drive, spends across the funnel. But as of now, I don't see any clear offering to say that I can do bottom of the funnel marketing on CTV.
Okay. So moving on, my next question, again, open to all of you, is more on the ad creation and the content creation. Are any of you all creating customized, specialized content for CTV? And do you see that coming up in the near future? What are your views on it? Should we be having it, even though you're not creating it?
See, I think if you look at the journey within digital as well, there were early adopters who actually moved into that 6-second creatives and other things, and Right now, we see almost all brands getting into that phase of doing a 6-second creative for YouTube or planning something on non-scapable and stuff like that. I think from a CTV perspective, probably early times, but yeah, maybe a couple of years down the line, there would be ads that are being curated for CTV separately, maybe OTT platforms separately, and I think it's a bit too early. Probably some of the brands might have dabbled into it, not my brands at this point of time.
Interesting. Anybody else? Any views on content creation or ad creation for CTV?
So as I was saying earlier, as of now, we recognize the value of it from the opaque data point of view. It seems to suggest that this is the right kind of medium to reach this kind of audience without too much wastage. But I think that's a solid opportunity in terms of creating content, even if it's an adaptation of the rest of the campaign that's being run on digital, to actually encourage a call to action. Because fundamentally, the problem with connected TVs is the ability to measure response rates, right? So one could argue if the data is correct on reach and there's so much of viewership and so on and so forth, the impact's greater because it's a larger screen, it's co-viewing, so it's more conducive to the decision. But it's not fructifying because the response rates are so low because the call to action device, if you will, isn't as efficient possibly as it could be. So if I were to leave a sort of challenge to the audience, a lot of whom may be content creators, is to really think about how that can be created, because that would really interest me.
So that could be an interesting opportunity that would come up in the near future. Very interesting. My next question, I would like each of you all to share your views on it in terms of currently, is CTV a must-have on the plan or a good-to-have on the plan? We can start with Jaikishin.
Okay. See, I'll answer it in two parts, okay? It's must-have for categories that or brands that are targeting NCCS A and B, because 8% of my audience is sitting out there.
Will there be any category that's not targeting NCCS A and B?
There are some brands within my portfolio which don't target that TG.
Interesting.
And again, you know, in terms of price point, there are quite a few offerings within the portfolio which are priced at ₹5 or ₹10. So which
Okay.
obviously I will not be kind of going on connected TV
So,
for.
so I want to ask a little more over here. Is it the price point that kind of drives this, or is it the NCCS A? Because, you know, you could have a premium soap targeting NCCS A, which could be at, say, 50 rupees. But the price point is still 50 rupees versus, say, an international holiday or, you know, what a Mahindra would have.
As I said, we also look at affinities. So for example, if the genre and the platform affinity is matching with, let's say the soap which is priced at 50 rupees or a shower gel which is priced at 100 rupees or thereabouts, we still end up kind of advertising on this particular platform.
Understand.
Okay. Will it attract larger spends? That's a question, because till the time there's sufficient amount of data that is coming in, it's difficult to start investing more into that onto connected TVs right now. See, right now it's probably leap of faith, a gut feel, or probably just experimenting with the platform itself, which is leading us to kind of do some investments and see if there's some response coming in. There are not sufficient signals being passed back from the platform for us to start measuring to which attracts more investment.
So measurement in data is one challenge that all of you all are facing, and we need to have more active discussions with the key industry people to kind of invest in that, right? That's a very clear takeout for all of us. Avtej, what are your views? Is it a must-have on the plan, or is it a good-to-have on the plan?
It again depends, right? So there are two, I think, factors that will go into deciding whether it's a must-have, good to have, or not to do. So I think that one is what kind of audience is your brand targeting, right? And the second is the size of your brand, which means that if I am targeting a certain revenue in the year, I need to reach X number of customers to be converted to reach that. If I'm able to drive my numbers from other platforms, which as of today are more measurable and are more cost effective, I'll probably not do CTV. And that's a reason why we've also dabbled, but not kind of like just gone ahead blindly and done it. Going forward, we may look at it more aggressively. And I think the two things that are inhibiting us from doing that today are, one, measurement, and second is pricing. Because even versus a normal OTT plan, I'm paying 2x the CPM on CTV, right? So these are the two inhibitors as of today. So I think as and when we have more transparency and more measurability and at the right cost, it'll start to make more sense for even smaller brands like us to kind of invest in it more aggressively.
Interesting. So you think pricing is one of the inhibitions that
Absolutely.
is kind of kind of reducing the chances of increasing investments on
Yeah, because the
CTV?
whole argument today is that that you're reaching a premium audience and hence you have to pay this cost. But is that cost justified? Should it be 1.3x? Should it be 1.5x? So why 2x? Right? So there is no rationale to that right now.
Fair. Krishna, what's your view on this?
Yeah, so I'm questioning. So it's actually good to have from my perspective, but then I'm still questioning. Say, a smart TV is still not a clear indication of a premium household. Okay, so the barriers in terms of the pricing for owning a smart TV have really gone down. So one can easily have a replacement to your old typical idiot box, and one can have a very low cost smart TV. So that does not really indicate that it's really a premium household. While at this, while I say this, there is also no two ways that there is a significant proportion of audiences which are indeed premium in terms of reaching and such households. So also, so one besides the inhibitions mentioned by my colleagues in terms of measurement, also we are not really very certain about data and whether really our ads are being viewed by the real audiences. That is yet another reason why we are slightly apprehensive, and I think that's also an industry challenge that I feel. Once we get sort of a better view on aspects like measurements and accurate data, I think it will be easier for us to look at CTV as an option.
Thank you very much. Abraham, what do you think? Is it a must-have or good to have?
It's good to have because, like I said, it's a must-have from a reach and quality of, in theory, quality of audience point of view. It's the reason why it gets downgraded to a good to have is because of the lack of measurability and ROI, like I spoke. So I think that really is the missing link, and the data opacity, for lack of a better word. So if we were all clear that this is the number, right? First of all, that would give us a lot more confidence to invest more money. And if they crack this response rate, low response rate, lack of device problem, I think the sky's the limit. Because I think connected TV is by and large to the point that everybody's replacing idiot box linear TV with a smart TV at whatever price point. It's pretty much going to become par for the course. It's going to become the category. The question is then, how do you make it more efficient at scale?
Thank you. Thank you for your view. Sonam, what is your view? Must have or good to have connected TV on a plan?
I'll address that question, but I'll just address the point that we were currently discussing about price point. So when it comes to Mahindra vehicles, I have a plethora of brands ranging from the most premium SUVs to commercial vehicles also. So in terms of the price point, at least in my category, it is not the price point that would determine whether CTV is included or no. It would rather be the TG that would determine whether it is good to have or critical on the media plan. The answer generally will always waver towards something that is required, but probably the proportion of investment on CTV would be determined by the brands that would be advertising. So if that answers the question, whether it's critical or good to have.
Thanks, Sonam. That triggers my next question. For the upcoming year, the investments on CTV will go up substantially, will go up marginally, or you'll not invest?
Now you've asked me a question which goes into the future tense. And this is where I have to open up a few can of beans which could be confidential. But it all depends on the kind of brands that we would be launching in the future. And answering that question of yours, definitely a higher investment on CTV.
All right, so CTV investments going up higher for Mahindra. Please note, guys. What about Abraham? What about you?
I think the honest answer would be definitely investments in digital itself are going up, OTT of course going up. So this would, be, because it's part of that plan, it would go up. It would go up with a lot more confidence and a larger proportion if I had clarity on numbers and response rate. So I maintain that.
So another optimistic investor on CTV, Krishnarao, what are your views?
Yeah, so definitely we would want to experiment. So I'll tell you as to how we moved from television to OTT. First, so like I said, the higher speeds and events like COVID, etc., propelled a larger consumption on digital platforms, and that sort of reposed faith in the medium and helped us sort of look at OTT as an opportunity and increase our spends. So I think CTV is the next thing. I think, yes, we are definitely looking at experimenting and being there as well.
Interesting. Avtej, what is your view?
Sure. So, I mean, if you look at AdX, right, so digital spend in this country have now overtaken TV, right?
Yes.
And that's big. And the fact is, while, and it's a trend that's here to stay and it's only going to rise from here. So while we can doubt it in terms of measurement of pricing, I don't think we can ignore it. So as far as we are concerned, I think my answer would be still a little pessimistic. I think we'll increase it marginally. But probably 3 years down the line, I think that could see a radical shift.
Interesting. Interesting. Jaikishin, what are your views?
Okay, see, if you look at the kind of targeting you get currently on CTV, it's probably a 2-level or a 3-level targeting. If you try to look at cohorts and other things, I don't know how many people when they're opening a Google account or a Facebook account actually put in the interest list and other things. So cohorts itself is becoming a bit questionable overall. And the entire media plan on digital and thereby on CTV is completely dependent on the lookalikes that you start getting from there. Till you start getting those sharper cohorts and you get those base numbers correct, it's difficult to actually put in higher investments onto a platform which you're technically playing blind. So 2024, I will be advertising on CTV. Quantum wise, I don't know. Till I start getting sharper data, till I start getting measurement on that platform, and till the time I'm able to get better ROI, I'll probably continue at the same levels that I'm currently doing today.
Okay, thank you. So yeah, interesting discussions, everyone. I think some very clear conclusions. CTV definitely is very promising. I think all of us have share the same view that the numbers are here to grow. They're consistently growing, and it is promising and cannot be ignored, right? Measurement and data being one of the key challenges, in enabling marketers to invest. So if we can have more transparency, more measurement techniques, more data available, there will definitely be monies that will be invested on CTV going forward. And the third key conclusion I also got was for premium audiences, CTV cannot be ignored, right? So a brand that is targeting the premium SECs definitely must consider CTV and be present on it. So yeah, I think very interesting views from all of you. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure connecting with all of you. Thank you so much.
And thank you so much, everyone, for one such engrossing and wonderful session on CTV's advantages and letting us know the challenges as well in the industry. Thank you. May I please request all of you to kindly come forward, first of all, for the group photo, and then we'll start the felicitation process. May I kindly request all of you to give them a cheers? Thank you.